As a professor, one of the questions that students ask me very often is, what is a credit hour? What do you mean by credit hour? What constitutes a credit hour? So today I'm going to talk to you about what is a credit hour. If it just meant 1 hour of time, then we would just simply say hour. We say credit hour because we are using a term created by academia as a unit of measurement to represent the amount of work that is required by a student for a particular course. For more in-depth insider information about how to save time and money in college, be more intentional with your degree plan, and more, check out my Udemy course, College 101, How College Works, in the description of this video. So designating credit hour allows us to say, oh, this is how much work this class requires versus the same class at another institution. So basically, credit hour is a unit of measurement. What students don't really understand a lot of times is that there's two components to credit hour. There's the time that you spend in class with the instructor. Let's just say it's an in-person class, and you have a regular 3-credit class that meets 3 times a week for 50 minutes, or maybe it meets 2 times a week for 75 minutes, or it meets 1 time a week for 2.5 to 3 hours. So those are all examples of a schedule that you might have for a 3-credit class. So your responsibilities for this class are not just meeting in person with the instructor. They're also the other part, which is the outside of class time work. Now, what is required for you is for each credit, 2 to 3 hours of outside work is required for each class. So what do I mean by outside work? Outside work for the students. Now, again, for a 3-credit class, this would be 6 to 9 hours a week. So that will include things like your homework for that class, readings, reading the chapters, reading the textbook, reading case studies, studying for an exam or a quiz, writing a paper, doing research for that class, preparing for a debate, which we all know sometimes that could take hours, preparing for a debate, working on a project, either an individual project or a group project. These are all examples of outside class time activities. So keep this in mind when you're planning your schedule, because I feel like a lot of times the students, they plan their schedule and they look at, okay, this is how much time I have. And then they think, oh, I have all this free time. I have this extra time, and then maybe they go, get a part-time job, or they sign up for other activities, which is all good. It's all about how you manage your time and everything. And some of you are excellent with time management, but I'm saying that you need to account for the outside classroom activities for each one of your classes. And sometimes it could be a lot, and sometimes it could be very little. So it really depends. And that's when I would ask other students who have taken that class, what are the time demands for that class? The reason why academia has a unit of measurement is because we really want to keep things fair for the student. Many students will start taking classes at a community college, say, or one 4-year college. They take a few classes, and then for whatever reason, they transfer to another institution. And when we transfer your credits, we want to make sure that the amount of effort that you put in for certain classes is roughly the same required for the amount of effort put in for classes at the new institution. So we're trying to avoid degrees getting watered down. That really is the case. And we're trying to keep things fair for all students. Many of you will transfer credits during your college career. Totally normal, very common. And we want to make sure that a 3-credit course in Introduction to Sociology is roughly the same amount of work as Introduction to Sociology at another college. And remember that there's two parts to the credit hour. There's the in-person time that you spend with the instructor, sitting in class, hopefully paying attention, right? You're all paying attention. The in-person hours that we calculate, and then the outside time that is preparing for that class, doing homework. Maybe you're doing practice exams and so forth, and the outside activities that are also required for that course. Nowadays, we have a lot of online courses, and so we try to keep roughly the same amount of effort required for the online courses as it would be if you were meeting for that course in person. One way we do this is maybe recording lectures and then adding up those minutes and saying, okay, you need to watch these videos, and then the total amount numbers of those videos in minutes. There's your in-person class time, and then in addition to that, there's outside assignments. That would be your outside classroom time, and then together that constitutes a credit hour. So each school has their own rules about that, but that is, again, roughly the main goal that we're trying to do is to keep things consistent for the student, keep it fair when you transfer your credits, that you're getting credit for the amount of effort that you put in for your classes, and it remains the same from one institution to another. We have students that take classes in one state and then transfer to another school out of state, and we want to make sure that all of their credits transfer and that they get credit for the amount of work that they've put in for their degree up into that point. If there's any question at all about what constitutes a credit hour at your institution, I would suggest that you constitute the registrar's office. They may have their own rules about that, especially if you're talking about online classes. They may have rules about how often you meet, and they may be calculating by how often you log on to the course management system, the course management software, such as Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, the course management software that your institution uses. Sometimes they will calculate those hours of logging on time and then maybe use that as part of your credit hour requirements. So that's something that I would check into if I were you. So remember to keep all of this in mind when you're planning your schedule, that you have the in-person meeting time and then your outside activity time. All of that will be calculated. It used to be more like 3 hours per one credit. 3 hours of outside work was necessary for one credit of in-person time. Now I believe it's closer to 2. I did look this up recently on AI, and the answer was about 2 to 3 hours of outside time. Now remember, that could include a lot of things. It could be reading, it could be studying, it could be homework, it could be meeting with your group to work on a project, it could be research, it could be individual research or papers. It could be preparing for a debate. It might even be recording yourself. In the case of an online class, that could be an example of outside work. So it doesn't have to feel very daunting when you think of, okay, I was going to do that anyway and spend time on that activity anyway outside of the regular class meeting. It shouldn't feel daunting to you when you look at, oh, okay, that's hours, that I was going to spend preparing that, or I was going to read that anyway. All of that counts as your outside of classwork time. So please remember that credit hour doesn't mean just like hour of time. A credit hour has two components. You're meeting with your class, either in person or online, with meeting with the instructor, either 3 times a week for 50 minutes, 2 times a week for 75 minutes, or 1 time a week for 2.5 to 3 hours. And then there's that additional component of the outside classroom activities, such as your reading, studying, writing a paper, research, and so forth. Please send me an email if you have any questions about that. I know that sometimes students are struggling with, what is a credit hour and what exactly do we mean by that? Hopefully this video helped you out. Please hit like if it did help you out. Share the video with other students who might be struggling with understanding this, or they're simply going to college for the first time, trying to make sense of everything. and trying to figure out what a credit hour is and what that means. So subscribe, hit like, and remember to keep learning.